Here now is Faith to Live By with Pastor Barber.
The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 51 wrote, "Behold, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed." Welcome to Faith to Live By. I'm Jim Barber. Here's the quartet to sing "What a Day That Will Be."
There is coming a day when no heartache shall come, no more clouds in the sky, no more tears to dim the eye. All is peace forevermore on that happy golden shore. What a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see, and I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, glorious day that will be. There'll be no sorrow there, no more burdens to bear, no more sickness, no pain, no more parting over there, and forever I will be with the one who died for me. What a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see, and I look upon his face, the one who saved me by his grace. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, glorious day that will be.
The Bible has the answer. We search the Scriptures for the answers to the questions which you have provided. Question number 1, how will saints be able to rejoice in heaven when so many people have been lost for all eternity? This is an excellent question. How is it that we can have such radically different roads and such radically different ends at the conclusion of this world? Heaven for all eternity and damnation in hell for all eternity, and never to have there a crossing over from the one to the other. In Revelation chapter 21 and verse 4, we read, "He, that is God, will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and that in heaven there will be no longer any mourning or crying or pain. The first things have passed away." Here is something that we need to simply rest in the goodness of God, that He will be the one who will wipe away tears and mourning. All of those things which cause heaviness, those things will be done away with for all eternity by His mighty power. Question number 2, how old is Jesus as we celebrate His birthday each year? Essentially, the question is, how many candles need to be on a cake if we are to celebrate Jesus' birthday? Well, here is a real problem. Over 2,000 years have passed now since His incarnation and birth in Bethlehem, when He took on flesh and blood and walked among us. So a little more than 2,000 years and 2,000 candles on a mighty cake would be appropriate. Have a fire extinguisher near at hand. However, Jesus is the one who in Revelation chapter 21 is called the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And then also He is the one who is a part of the Trinity. And in Psalm 90 and verse 2, we read that He is from everlasting to everlasting. He is without beginning and without end, and so we cannot say how many years He is because time simply does not work. We are limited by time, but God, and when we step out of time into eternity, we will no longer know the confines of years and months and days. We will be released from that. And so Jesus, how old is He? He is without number of years. Question number 3. Aside from Gabriel and Michael, how many other angels are there in the Bible? Only Gabriel and Michael are given names in the Scriptures, but we go to Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 22, and then also to Revelation chapter 5 and verse 11. Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 22, it declares, "But you have come to Mount Zion, and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to myriads of angels." And likewise in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 11, it speaks of the number of them, angels, was myriads of myriads, and thousands of thousands. We are not told how many angels there are in glory, and we simply need to understand that their number is absolutely immense in every way. Thank you for these questions. If you have a question, send it to us, and we will get to it as quickly as we are able. Our mailing address is Faith to Live By, Box 426, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C 2H6. Bernice Giesbrecht comes and she sings Farther Along, and that is followed by Jonathan Kvist singing Just a Whispered Prayer.
Tempted and tried, we're oft made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long.
Just a whispered prayer, and the load of care from the burdened heart is lifted, and a gleam of light makes the pathway bright, for the heavy clouds are rifted. Do not travel on in darkness, when you may walk in sunshine fair. You can find the light and the pathway bright by the aid of a whispered prayer. Just a whispered prayer, and the load you bear, and the darkened path grows brighter. Wheresoever thou art, with a lifted heart, you will find your skies grow brighter. Do not travel on in darkness, when you may walk in sunshine fair. You can find the light and the pathway bright by the aid of a whispered prayer. Just a whispered prayer, and a friend is there who can turn your grief to gladness, who can fill your days with the notes of praise, who can give you song for sadness. Do not travel on in darkness, when you may walk in sunshine fair. You can find the light and the pathway bright by the aid of a whispered prayer.
We always are eager to say thank you to all of you who pray for us, to all of you who financially support the work of Faith to Live By in its ever-expanding work. Our appreciation abounds to you indeed, and we produce Faith to Live By resources as our means of saying our thanks to you. We have been talking about Thy Word is a Lamp, 2-CD pack, which includes readings taken from both Old Testament and New Testament, nearly 2.5 hours of the Scriptures for you to enjoy. We have also reprinted, after about 11 years, Jesus Revealed, 10 sermons, which my father, Dr. H.H. Barber, preached here on Faith to Live By, sermons from the book of Revelation, and I know that you will enjoy both listening to the Scriptures as well as reading these sermons. These are sent free and postage paid to all who request them. We do not send resources without your request, but when you ask them for whatever materials, we are eager to see that they are provided. Our mailing address is Faith to Live By, Box 426, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C 2H6. You may find it more convenient to call our toll-free phone number, and that is 1-833-4FTLB. That's 1-833-367-3852. Now, Rick Bowring, he comes and he sings Friendship with Jesus.
A friend of Jesus, oh, what bliss that one so weak as I should ever have a friend like this to lead me to the sky. blessed sweet communion, Jesus is a friend of mine. A friend when other friendships cease, a friend when others fail, a friend who gives me joy and peace, a friend who will prevail. Friendship with Jesus, fellowship divine. Oh, what blessed sweet communion, Jesus is a friend of mine. A friend to lead me in the dark, a friend who knows the way, a friend to steer my weak, frail bark, a friend my debts to pay, a friend when life's rough voyage is o'er, a friend when death is past, a friend to meet on heaven's shore, a friend when home at last. Friendship with Jesus, fellowship divine. Oh, what blessed sweet communion, Jesus is a friend of mine.
At the conclusion of Matthew's Gospel, Jesus said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given unto me," and he sent out his disciples to make disciples. But halfway through the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew records in chapter 14 how that authority had been misused and abused. How often that is the case in this world. When people have authority either thrust upon them or they grasp it to themselves, it is abused so horribly. Here we have the account of Herod, the Tetrarch, who had taken John the Baptist into prison because he was annoyed. He was perturbed with John the Baptist because John was pointing his finger at Herod saying, "It is not right for you to have your brother's wife." And indeed, that was not right. But Herod, though he feared John, he used his authority to grab a hold of him and to try to silence him. And along with that, there is the death of John the Baptist by the conniving of Herodias and her daughter. And John's head is detached from his body and in gruesome scene is brought before a festive party on a platter. But his disciples came and took his body away and buried him. And they come and they tell Jesus. Authority abused, authority that is squandered, authority that could be used for such good, it is frequently used for harm. It is frequently ending in pain and in such shame. But Jesus, what a different picture we get from him as we continue to read past the viciousness of Herod and Herodias. Herod not wanting to disappoint his guests, not wanting to go back on his word, though surely that word was a foolish, utterly foolish word. Jesus, in contrast, he uses his authority to bless. Here is the picture of God. We read that Jesus has come among us, that he is the picture of God the Father. He is the very picture of the character of God, that we might understand the God who calls us to himself. And Jesus, what does he do with this authority? This foretaste of authority, that foretaste of the all authority in heaven and on earth that has been given to him. We see in Matthew chapter 14, Jesus feeding the 5,000. Now, when Jesus heard about John and his death, he withdrew from there in a boat to a secluded place by himself. And when the people heard of this, they followed him on foot from the cities. They were naturally drawn to him. There was an attraction. They just could not get enough of him and of the gracious words that he spoke. He comes ashore. He saw a large crowd, and what does he feel? Does he feel annoyed? Does he feel, oh, why won't these people leave me alone? It says he felt compassion for them, and he healed their sick. But the day grows long, and time passes, the evening comes, and the disciples come to him, and they say to him, "This place is desolate, and the hour is late. Send these crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." And Jesus said, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." They said to him, "We have only 5 loaves and 2 fish." What in the world is that? It's comical. It's ridiculous that we would even say it out loud, but 5 loaves and 2 fish. And he said, "Bring them here to me." And here is what he does with the authority. He does not aggrandize himself. He does not puff himself up, but he works to bless. That is the very picture of the God who sent Jesus to Bethlehem and sent him to Calvary's cross for you and for me, that we might know salvation, that we might know his redemption. He says, "Bring that little, tiny, tiny bit to me." And Jesus, he has the people sit down. He takes those bits of bread and those bits of fish. He looks up into heaven. He blesses the food, and breaking, he gives to the disciples. The disciples give to the crowds. And it says that they all ate. It wasn't that there were just sort of representatives out of the crowd who had a nibble. It says they all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the leftover pieces, broken pieces, and there was 12 baskets full of them, 5,000 who ate, besides women and children, a great multitude indeed. The account goes on in Matthew chapter 14, and here, once again, is Jesus' authority as he sends the disciples away and as he dismisses the crowds as well. He goes to a mountain to pray. Here is authority which knew where his power came from. Jesus realized that his power was drawn from his Father who had sent him, and he calls out upon his Father and he prays. And he's there alone, and he sees that his disciples were already a long way from the land, but there was trouble. They were battered by the waves, and the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, he comes to them walking on the sea. He uses his authority to come to those who were distressed. Once again, that authority could have set himself up and puffed himself up, but not just as he fed the multitudes, as he blessed, so he comes to his disciples in their turmoil, in their trouble, when they possibly thought, "We're not sure whether we're going to make it tonight. We've seen storms before, but we're not sure." Jesus comes to them as he walks out, and he speaks to them even as they cry out, thinking that it was a ghost, that it was a spirit who is haunting them. Jesus, he cries out and he says, "Take courage, it is I." Peter is the one here who says, "Lord, if it is you, if it really is you, command me that I might come to you on the water." And Jesus, he issues an invitation. I would want you to hear this invitation. The wind was still blowing and the waves were still crashing on the side of that boat and jumping over into that boat. But Jesus, he says, come. In the midst of the storms that we face, Jesus issues this invitation for us to come to him and that we might find peace in him. Of course, the well-known account is that Peter, he takes his eyes off of Jesus and he sees the waves and he hears the wind that is howling round about his ears and he starts to sink. And Jesus, he reaches out, and here is that second chance. Here is that opportunity when Jesus, he reaches down to Peter as he's sinking down and he grabs a hold of him and he lands him safe back into that boat. And the disciples, their response was, you are certainly God's Son. And they worshiped him. They worshiped him. I would bid you in the midst of the storm, perhaps right now, the waves are crashing and the wind is howling, such as what you have never seen it before. Whatever the turmoil, whatever the storm is, Jesus is the one who has all authority, and he is the one who comes to bless. He is the one who comes to strengthen. He is the one who comes to encourage and to uphold you. Oh, look to him. Look to him and live even today.
There's still room for one. Yes, there's room at the cross for you.
Thank you for joining Pastor Barber today. Please watch for Faith to Live By again next Sunday at this same time on this same station. Until then, Faith to Live By prays that the peace of God will fill your heart and that the joy of the Lord will be your strength. Pastor Barber would love to hear from you. The mailing address is Faith to Live By, Box 426, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C 2H6.